Today we're going to cover some of the features that you can use with the Zoho reports. Previously they were called Zoho views, but they are either a report or a view of your current information. So here we're looking at a project report, and this is based on a project form that we filled in previously. And you can see it's laid out somewhat like a spreadsheet. You have your columns and your rows. The column headings give you a lot of control. You can sort or group by any column heading. You can also search. The search is very powerful. Now, the search is aware of what kind of field it's searching on. So, under the project title, which is a text field, we can do things like we can search for exact matches, fields that do not contain certain information. It's empty, not empty, starts with, ends with, contains, all of those. Here we have a date field, and if we're doing searches here, we get a different list of choices because a date you'd have a between. So you have all these various choices based on dates. So the search feature is very powerful within the live mode of a Zoho report, and the users can do a lot of things to manipulate the data at this level. But today we're going to talk more about the features you have in the edit mode. So I'm going to click on the edit the application, and I'm going to open it in a new tab just to simplify the switching back and forth between edit mode and live mode. The first screen we have is a summary. We can see here's the name of the report. This is what the user would see. This is an internal. We are running script against the report. It's based on a form. In this case, it's called projects, and we're displaying it as a list. And we can make some changes here. So if I wanted to have more items on the report, I just change it from 75 to 100, and I can save that. And we'll come back and talk about this criteria in a moment. It does have its uses, but it can also get you into trouble. So I'll talk about that in a few seconds. Here in the column properties is where you actually do most of the work in laying out your report. You have your field names, and these are the names that are shown on the screen. This is what the user would see. These are the internal names that you have on the form that you created. So you'll see in most cases they're very much the same. Sometimes you might want to add a little clarity to it. So instead of just saying start date, it's the estimated project start date. And this is what would show on the report. You also have fields that come from related forms. So here's the employee email, and we called it that because it's coming from the employee list, as opposed to the email as part of the project form, which is the email for the client, the one that we're actually doing the project for. So you can see you have all these different fields, and it's very easy to rearrange them. Let me move the company name above the contact name. And actually we should move the company name right up to the project start date. So those two fields are next to each other. Okay. So this gives you a lot of control. If there's a field that we don't need to see, so for example, we don't really need to see the employee email, so I just clicked on the X, and it moves it off to the side here, because these are the fields that we are not currently using on this report, and if we want, we can just easily drag them back in. So these are the functions you have on manipulating the columns within the report. Now we can also talk about grouping and sorting. I have this set to group by the assigned to, and it's sorted by the estimated project start date and the project title. You always want to have the last field listed here would make it unique. If we had this reversed, this really becomes unnecessary, because in this particular application the project title is unique. You can't have two projects with identical titles, so sorting by the date afterwards gives you nothing at all. If I didn't have the project title there and was just sorting by the start date, that becomes a little bit of a problem, because we do have different projects that start on the same day, and this doesn't make it unique. So within the particular date, it would be random. So if you have 3 projects all starting on the same date, it's there's no guarantee on what order they'll show in. So I like to put them in the project title order after the date. So I think that works well. Okay. Now let me show you about the filters. In a moment we'll go back to the live mode so you can see how all these work. We have a filter for the assigned to. This would be the employee who's responsible for the project. And we have a filter by the start date. All right, so now that I've talked about all those, let's go back into the live mode. And let me refresh the screen because I moved some of the fields around. And you'll see now it shows exactly what we had just modified. Okay. Now, I talked about the filters. If I click on the filter here, it shows all the employees because I was filtering by the employee name. And if I choose one of these, it will show me just the records that are assigned to Herb Wexler. Now I can also choose Amy Jones, and it is filtered by that, but Amy doesn't have any projects. Okay. Now I can also say I just want to see the ones that are in December. Okay. And now I'm getting just the projects that are assigned to either Herb or Amy and that have an estimated start date of December 2014. All right. So I'm going to clear all that so we go back to our full view. Okay. Now let me go straight back to the criteria. Notice that we have company names of huge and big. And let me just show you how this works, and I'll show you why it can become a bit of a problem. So I'm going to come back to my summary screen, and I'm going to specify criteria. I'm going to do selected records where the company name contains the word big. Okay. So I'm going to save this, and then I'll come back and I'll refresh our screen here. And now I'm only seeing projects that are related to company big corporation. Now the thing is, that's locked in. I cannot, in live mode, do anything here to see any other projects other than ones that are assigned to Big Corp. So this is good if the person looking at this particular report should only be seeing certain records. But if they needed to see, gee, is there any conflict between this start date for this project and any other projects, can't be done here. So that's why I say that you need to be fairly careful when you're putting in these particular kinds of criteria. I'm going to go back to all records, and we'll go back to the screen in a moment. Let me go into the column properties, and notice that our assigned to, let me move this up just for clarity's sake. The assigned to has a little link icon next to it, and if I click that, it gives me choices of what information to show. I could either have no link at all, or the employee view, or the employee report limited. Let's go with the employee view, and I'll come back to the report. And this is a very useful feature because it saves so much screen space. What it does is on that particular field, and it could be a grouped by field, or it could be a field within the body of the report. If I click on it, I get a hyperlink to the related report. And in this case, it's showing the name, phone number, hire date, status, and notes. I may not need all of this information. A hire date might be considered confidential. Don't need to know if they're full-time, part-time, or any of these notes. So this is actually showing too much information about the employee. So on the report or the view that I'm linking to, I have another one that's limited in the information it shows. All right, and now it just shows some information, not all of it, about the employee. So that gives you just a lot of flexibility in designing your reports, because there's information that may not be critical. You don't need to see it in every single column, but you need to be able to get to it. So the hyperlink to a related form is very useful. And on the permissions, not going to talk too much about this because this is being changed. Um, but under permissions, you can say if records can be added, edited, or deleted. In the newer version of Zoho, there's an option to do this by role, because each person with a login ID is assigned to a role, like a salesperson or a front desk person. And maybe a salesperson can add records, a front desk person can't. So you have control on those kind of permissions. The custom actions I'm not going to actually describe. That'll be a separate video. What a custom action does, it's a button that would show on either each individual record or at top to apply to all records or selected records, and it would call a function. The function can do anything because it has the script language behind it, so that a custom action could do a lot of manipulating of the data. Let me go into the conditional formatting, and I've set up two different conditional formattings. We'll look at the one for the big corporation, big company, and you can see we're applying this formatting just to records where the company name contains the word big, and we're going to work with the project title. And you can see you can choose whatever you want here, and we'll choose the project title. And the formatting options, you can bold, italicize, underline. Yeah, let me italicize that. And you can change the colors of either the text or the background. And you can see I've already chosen these colors. And I've also created a custom formatting for a huge company, so big and huge. Okay, and here we have how this looks. Now I did change the text to be italics, so let's refresh our screen. Okay, and you can see it's highlighted, italicized. So it's very easy just to scroll down or to see which ones are for huge company and which ones are for big company. All right. Now the record summary, that's also for another video. What that does, it allows you to format a special screen to look at the information. And let me go back and I'll show you the default within the Zoho. If I choose View Record, I get a fairly plain looking view of the information. If I created my own record summary, I could have multiple columns, I could highlight, I could do a lot of things. So I have control on how this would look. But you know, for this particular video, we're just going to work with the basics. So those are the information on how you can edit a Zoho report, all the different features you can put within a report. And I think that will give you a lot of information on displaying the proper information for each of the users of your application. Thank you.